What should we call this? The Lost Girlypops of Hoenn. Ooh, that's a good one. That's the title. That's the title. You heard it here first. It's The Lost Girlypops of Hoenn. I thought about not addressing it because I was kind of scared of Nintendo and Game Freak, but then I just realized that there's just too much to talk about. I didn't know how I wanted to approach this, and people just kept asking me like, what are your impressions? What are your impressions? What are your impressions? And I was like, well, I mean, there's obviously some girly pops there, but I guess in my head I know the answers of who is the girly pop, but I understand that we kind of just want to have fun and have a conversation here. Today, I just want to focus on Generation 3's leaked sprites. I wanted to do like a deep dive, but there really isn't a lot there to do a deep dive, so this is going to be a lot more of a casual video. We're literally going to go down a list that I had found that just like compiles like the rough Pokédex concept of all the Pokemon that were confirmed to be in, and then the Pokemon that were taken out. We're going to talk about their designs, and we're going to figure out which ones are the girly pops. For people who are interested, this is actually found in the Beta Leaks mega thread in the Leaks subreddit. I guess I can link it. I mean, I have copy and paste, so let's get started. So as I'm scrolling through, you'll see these columns, and I'm actually like just showing a part of the window. There's a lot of information here. The first column is actually going to show like the original name in 2001. The second column is going to show November 2001 sprite work. So like this is like the prototype. The third column is going to show spring 2002 art. The fourth column is going to show November 2002, like more final draft stuff. And then the last column is going to show what we, as the English speaking Pokemon audience, know them as, or if they just got scrapped or if they got replaced. I want to stop real quick. This is not a Lost Girly Pop, but I just want to mention some of the notes are really funny. I really recommend that you come and check this out, because if you get into like designs and like analyzing that kind of stuff and you want to be like the fly on the wall for something so grand as Pokemon, these notes I feel like give like a cool inside personality of like how they discuss things and how they decide on things. Like, so obviously the Nuzleaf prototype was based on a Tengu, but whoever was in charge of making the Pokemon made a literal Tengu, and the note says,
"It's a literal Tengu. Scary."
Just warm myself up a bit, girl. This lighting, it's like nighttime, so my lighting is a little bit weird. I was looking blue, dabba dee dabba die. Our first Lost Girly Pop, her original name is Maki, but by November 2002, her name became Ubausagi. If anybody here likes getting into like IGNs, like in-game names, usernames, things like that, you're looking for a new aesthetic, we've got some concepts. I'm liking OU, like Usagi. It looks like Usagi, which makes me think of Sailor Moon, but like the OU kind of is like a little bit aesthetic, especially like in all capital letters or in that katakana itself. A caretaking rabbit is a really fun idea. It immediately makes me think of like Kangaskhan or any of like the colony Pokemon like Tandemaus. I mean, if you think about it, a rabbit's a rodent, a mouse is a rodent. Years later, we did get Tandemaus. The one really cute thing is this Pokemon apparently will, if it doesn't have offspring itself, it will find something to take care of, and it wraps its tail around the things on its back to protect it. It's also a normal type, which just makes sense for a Pokemon as cute as this. Nobinyobi at the top there with the cool hat immediately makes me think of Toxapex. I'm wondering, there's a lot of like comparisons here, and I mean, Pokemon is like 20 plus years old, so obviously they're going to be like recycling some ideas that didn't make it in past generations, but she's giving Toxapex a lot. She did get replaced by Baltoy, and I have to say, I kind of prefer her.
Just vote.
Just vote. Just vote.
Just read. I know I'm gonna be out, so just vote.
Like, even though her initial sprite work is not giving as polished as like maybe Baltoy's final sprite work, this concept looks a lot more fun. There's not a lot of information on it, so my brain is just running wild with ideas, but we do know that it was supposed to be a ground psychic type. Guriguri, which eventually became C dot. I prefer this version. I mean, obviously, look at how much cuter it is. Galbi. And I say it like that because I'm part Korean, and one of my favorite dishes is galbi. I don't think that they meant it that way. This is obviously supposed to be referencing Gyaru. I do really like this Pokemon. This Pokemon could come back like full force and be really, really loved by girly pops. They had an entire evolution line that got scrapped, as you can see on the far right, kind of giving Bellossom. I wonder if well, actually no, Bellossom came before her. Oh, so Belossom's Impact. Huh, that's Belossom's Impact. A pure grass type, which is actually really aesthetic. What's really cute about their conceptual Pokédex entry was that they're supposed to like gather in like little gaggles, and they get really loud when they're together. And they apparently give like their petals to things that they love. I'm immediately getting imagery of like a whole like bouquet of them, or like maybe the imagery that they were going for was like a bunch of it's almost like Harajuku Street, you know, when you see like those videos of those really big fashion walks in Japan and how everyone's kind of decorated like flowers, like a garden. I feel like maybe that's what they were going for. I want to go ahead and touch on Ryllidy before we move on from Gaobi, because it got replaced by the Ralts line. There's so much of this Pokemon that got injected into Ralts. Ryllidy initially was supposed to be a grass type, but then they changed it to become a bug psychic type, which is really interesting. But Ryllidy actually uses its antennas in a psychic way to sense its environment. It reminds me a lot of the Ralts line, the emotion Pokemon. The whole Ralts line is like a graduation of emotional maturity and psychic power. Also, Ryllidy is apparently a female-only Pokemon as of this generation. That was the concept of it, that only females are supposed to be confirmed. That in conjunction with the fact that Gardevoir is a moving Pokemon, and in Gardevoir's Pokédex entries, it talks about how if you see Gardevoir moving, it's like something really, really beautiful. Like it's something intentional that Gardevoir does with its body. And this Pokemon also has like movement stuff in its Pokédex entry that feel kind of similar. Something that's really interesting though, that I feel like we learned more about from Ralts with this Pokemon, is that it says possibly reworked into the Ralts line, considering Wally's connection to red spider lilies in Pokemon RSE. I did not know that about Wally, and that's really cool because they do have the red motifs in the Ralts line, which are supposed to represent like the heart. Like it's kind of like the Ralts is like central psychic energy almost, like it's where it emanates from. And as you can see, that red could have been used still in the Ralts line. I love like the depth of like the possible design elements in that. Now, you can see the insecurity of Girlypop Pokemon in this, but you can also see, like I said in my Hoenn video, they know what Girlypop is, and it's not like the designers don't want to do it. It's just like a slow process of like convincing them that it's a very valid aesthetic that should be represented a little bit more. I mean, you see the contents of my channel. I'm biased. If it was up to me, we would have nothing but Girlypops. But Aarei? Tell me that doesn't look like Primarina. And what's funny about Game Freak's notes is that it's too dramatic to be a Pokemon concept, when like Primarina and like Milotic, like really, really dramatic femme Pokemon, Pheromosa, things like that, those are like some of the most iconic Pokemon that kind of carry the franchise. And I'm not saying that they're solely responsible for carrying the franchise. I'm saying that their imagery is so intense and loved by fans that people re-engage all the time because of those Pokemon. And I feel like Aarei, if she wasn't the inspiration for Primarina, she would fit right into the Pokemon universe. No other information on her though, which is so sad. She really got chopped too soon. One of the queens have to go home first, you know? I think another lost Girlypop here is Poochi. We don't know a lot about her, but you can see in her eyes that she has a story. She has a story to tell.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLaughlin. Please say you'll be the answer for an innocent animal who's suffering right now.
Starting out with the name Furaputo, that might be the reason why they started to scrap it. It ended up having this name Flane? Falani? That is very, very pretty. Let's get into what she is. This Pokemon has a really lovely sort of like aesthetic and presence. Apparently it has very weak leg strength, so it can only walk 1 meter per day. And I guess it like floats down and like puts its tail into the ground to absorb nutrients. It's a psychic grass type that can like bloom like really beautifully if it has like a good special bond with its trainer. Could you imagine the types of like shinies we could get? The way that, oh my goodness, like this Pokemon is so lovely. And I think about like Pokemon like Ribombee and things like that. Like this could be like redone into like a fairy type in my opinion. What do you think? Ninfu, if Ninfu does not come back as like a Combee like female variant, because I mean it looks like a bee, you know, but like Combee right now, females evolve into Vespiquen, right? What if they retroactively changed it to have Kombi look like Ninfu if it's a female? That way you would always know if it's gonna like raised to be a queen, because the things on her ears kind of look like
Wimple.
oh, and like right above, I didn't even notice this, but Pyokko's kind of cute too. She's really small, so you have to look in really close. But Pyokko kind of reminds me of like a Maple Story monster. That's a really girly pop. Just so sad because like look at these like super kawaii type Pokemon. Hipo, Charmin. That is so adorable. The color scheme is so adorable. Like the look of it is so adorable. Now Charmin, I don't really like it too much. It does look like a baby, but it also looks like kind of like a little monkey too. And I love the monkey type Pokemon. I just really think that like in Generation 3, they were kind of scared to go as girly pop as they could have gone, because there was obviously some stuff to work with. So we've got back-to-back girly pops real quick. Heppi, Supanku, Kurumi, diva, like diva. I think my favorite of these, like this like triple back-to-back is Kurumi. That's a crazy Pokemon, and once again, no information because they got scrapped very quickly. The initial iterations of castform, I think that there were some hits and some misses, right? Powawa, I would actually love to see come back as like a marshmallow like food type Pokemon, like Dockspun or something like that, but like be a fairy normal type, something like that. I think that that would be really cute. Sansan, the fire form of castform, I think is the cutest. And what's interesting is like a little bit further up here we get Weathery. They say weirdly similar to castform, and I have to agree. However, I think that that would be a really cute regional for castform. I've always had this feeling that castform is a really girly pop Pokemon, and they really need to bring it back to either have it interact with terrains or give it like a regional that just has different forms. This is kind of like witchy space suit kind of moment. I think is something that could be really fun to work with. And a lot of people like castform. It's just one of those Pokemon that needs that extra spotlight. And last but not least, the icon. The unofficial yet official girly pop, that's the lost one. If there was any mother of the lost girly pops, it would be Warabitto. I think if Warabitto debuted in any generation later on, or in Generation 3, iconic. She'd be up there. Or he, or it, or they, or vegan. So this was a little bit new for me. I normally like to go into things a little bit more thorough, have like a lot more meat to the conversation, but there's really nothing to talk about other than like sprites. I'm really interested to know what you all think about these Generation 3 leaks. However this video finds you and whatever you're up to next, I hope it all goes by super well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!